Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and all the world is a stage, and words mean things. And at the end of this video, by the end of this video, I'm going to give you a whoa moment. And those are my favorite videos to do. It's coming. And there might be one or two whoa moments for you, like in the last video. So strap in, here we go. And again, I'll tell you, it's an interesting thing the mind does when you focus with everything you have for over 2 years on one thing. Things just, it's kind of like your mind has its own arms and it's just grabbing up and piecing things and grabbing things and putting them together. And by the end of this video, I'm going to put some together for you because my brain went to work when something happened today. So here we go. XRP, Bart sent me this. I wanted to show you that this was cool that somebody did a Bitcoin survey. And I just wanted to show you these numbers. These are predictions. Let me see what they call this thing. The Bitcoin Investor Predictions 2020. 17% believe Bitcoin will be worth more than $50K by 2030. 65% of Bitcoin investors remain bullish. 25% keep 1 to 10% of their savings in Bitcoin. More than half of the investors believe that Bitcoin is a sounder investment vehicle than the U.S. dollar, stocks, golds, and real estate. I believe this is going to be a trend, that last line, and you're going to see more and more of this as we go forward. Okay, Jonathan D. sent me this. This was an announcement that came from Zero Hedge today. The Fed formally joins the network for greening the financial system. They said, WTF is this, okay? This is an organization, and it's actually called Network for Greening the Financial System, I think. But anyway, I went and looked. I found their logo really interesting because their logo looks like they have a tree, but the logo looks a lot more like nodes. And this is the Federal Reserve Board's announcement. These are Ripple's nodes on their website, and those are what look like nodes in the logo. There's nodes everywhere. Everywhere you look now is nodes. Nodes, nodes, nodes. Crypto Dim sent me this. Japanese financial group SBI acquires cryptocurrency trading firm B2C2. It says they've acquired, it's a UK-based cryptocurrency firm, and it'll become the first major financial group to run a digital asset dealing desk, the company said on Tuesday. SBI is like one of the most aggressive companies in the world. And they're also an owner in R3 and Ripple. And Katal Sun is he's XRP's biggest fan. Okay, Riz XRP made me aware of this, and this is where it all starts, folks. This right here is one of the biggest pieces of news that we have seen in a while. Ripple adds Sandy O'Connor. Strap in, folks. The ride starts here. Get ready. Ripple adds Sandy O'Connor to the board of directors. Okay? Sandy O'Connor, let's see what she had to say when she got on the board of directors. She says, Ripple is reshaping the financial landscape, solving inefficiencies with today's payments infrastructure, using digital assets and blockchain technology. The opportunity for the market has never been bigger, and I'm thrilled to bring my experience working with leaders in developing regulatory policy to support the evolution of the payments ecosystem and promote financial access and inclusion. So, but where is she from? She's from JP Morgan, by the way. All right. And before we go any further into JP Morgan, I need to show you a couple of things. First, I'll just show you this. We can't talk about JP Morgan. Ian Northing brought this to our attention once again. Every time we bring up blockchain and JP Morgan, we have to go back over how the world works. 2017, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, says Bitcoin is a fraud. 2018, I regret saying that. 2019, welcome JPM coin. Okay? And then we saw this article earlier this week. J.P. Morgan sees $600 billion demand for Bitcoin from global institutional adoption. All right, now let's go back to Sandy O'Connor. Here's her resume. We're looking at her LinkedIn page right now. She's on several boards, and that's kind of what all these high up people do, is they join a bunch of boards. But let's look at her resume. We'll focus here on J.P. Morgan first. 31 years, Chief of Regulatory Affairs, Treasurer, Global Head Prime Services, Global Business Executive, Financing, Markets, various executives positions. So her entire career was at J.P. Morgan. Well, I wanted to remind you that my father, the official father of the Digital Asset Investor channel, has always said, we've said it on this channel 1,000 times, nothing happens. When my dad was trying to believe what I was saying about Ripple and XRP, he said, well, nothing happens without JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs has to be in the game, and JP Morgan has to be in the game financially, or it's not happening. So we've shown a lot of videos where we do Goldman Sachs and Ripple ties, and I've shown you many people like Brianna Madigan that came from Goldman Sachs that work for Ripple. I believe the guy that runs the global FX, the guy that came from FX, the global FX division, I think at Goldman, came to Ripple recently as well. I've covered him. But so I wanted to make that point first of all, but then I wanted to take you back and let's look at a couple of more things that are important. The first, well, really the one I want to focus in is this one. She is currently at the FDIC, the Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee member. I didn't even know they had a Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee, but they do, and she's on it and happens to be on the board at Ripple at the same time. So let's cue this. This, talking about systemic, this is Brianna Madigan from Goldman Sachs who came to Ripple. What does she say about it?
The attribute of a healthy liquid market is really resilience, and that is getting at the ability for a market to recover from a significant systemic event.
Right, and she would have been talking about XRP there. So I tweeted this out and I said, so now we have XRP, a digital asset that can help in recovering from a systemic event, and a Ripple board member who is also a member of the FDIC Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee. Works for me, #0doubt. So what else do we have? This is Chris Larson at Money 20 back in, I believe that was 2019 or so.
Is 10 years out on the financial crisis. We still don't have the infrastructure perhaps to prevent the next one. And I think this is where digital assets can really help, because an efficient digital asset can really solve some of the key problems in global liquidity. You know, the world's got trillions and trillions of dollars tied up in liquidity just to get around how clunky the movement of value is around the world. If with a really efficient digital asset, something like XRP, again, that's what we believe will be the most efficient, you can now reduce trillions and trillions of capital from being tied up. So you can make those transfers instantly as a bank or as a payment provider or as an enterprise without having to have money pre-positioned all over the world. So that's...
Okay, so let's go. What do we have next? XRP Honey Bear sent me this today. So remember, because we're still talking about her, she is currently at the FDIC on this Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee member. Brian Brooks, who's the OCC, also goes to the FDIC meetings because I've seen him in them. So I get this from XRP Honey Bear today. New brokered deposits rule promotes bank fintech partnerships. And what does this rule have to do with? That would be the FDIC. And here's, let's see. It says, acting comptroller of the currency, Brian Brooks, today issued the following statement with his vote to support the FDIC new brokered deposits rule. I'm not going to get down in the mud on this. I am going to, the one that was most interesting. Second, companies that simply facilitate consumers' deposits into a bank via a more convenient interface and never take possession of the consumer's funds will no longer be deemed brokered deposit arrangements. Okay. Now, so it's interesting that they just happen to be coming out with regulation that has to do with the FDIC today. Well, let's go back to this. This is Sandy O'Connor's position on this Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee. I decided I would go snoop around on that because I had never even heard of that committee. When I started snooping around, I came across this. This is from the FDIC's website. And her committee is actually working on this resolution framework for global systemically important banks. And I was scrolling through here and they've got graphs and everything. Illustrative crisis continuum, where they show, I guess their procedures for all of this, FDIC readiness, liquidity, and funding needs, right? Get down to page, let me see where I can see, where does it say what page we're on? I think here it is. Let's go, right here. This is page 7, I think. So on page 7, FDIC readiness, bridge governance, and remember, words mean things, folks. Bridge governance and oversight. In an OLA resolution, and this is her committee, a bridge financial company chartered by the FDIC will be led by directors and officers approved by the FDIC, subject to certain controls established upon the formation of the bridge. Bridge. The FDIC recently conducted an internal bridge formation simulation. They've got simulations. Then they have this bridge governance paradigm. And it's all bridge. I liked how they used the word. So they're forming this bridge financial company. It's chartered by the FDIC. Well, I kept looking around and but first, as long as we're talking about bridges, what have we heard for the last 3 years?
Well, one thing to jump off of that point, stable coins are all the rage right now. Everybody's coming out with a dollar-backed or some other sort of asset-backed coins that they can conduct trades quickly, seamlessly, but also without the volatility. So what would be the advantage of using XRP, for instance, rather than using one of these more sort of like designed to be fully stable assets?
Yeah, a stable coin like USDC, for example, that Coinbase and Circle have done. I think that is interesting in mitigating volatility, but you still have to go from dollar to peso. Right, so at some point you have a bridge. Somebody has to bridge that. And in effect, what Ripple's doing is let's make XRP the most efficient, the most liquid, and the easiest to bridge by selling effectively the connectors on both ends, selling APIs to allow people to connect to both ends of that. If we have hundreds of banks interconnected to use XRP for that, I think that bodes well for the liquidity of XRP.
It's basically who has the most liquidity is going to win this game.
That's what I believe. I think different people believe different things.
Right. So bridge. And yeah, you're sitting there, these are all just coincidences. Okay, let's go back through the coincidences. First, she's in charge of regulations at JP Morgan, who runs the financial world, who my father says you cannot have anything happen in the financial system without, and I agree, them and Goldman Sachs in the United States. She's at the FDIC, which is where Brian Brooks is. He's also at their meetings and all that stuff, and pretty much is involved in all of it. And he's the guy that keeps pushing out all these regulations. He was at Coinbase. But systemic is the word, right? That's the first word. And then you happen to have people that were at Goldman Sachs that now work for Ripple that are talking about how this could solve things in a systemic crisis, right? And then you got Chris Larson talking about how XRP could help in a liquidity crisis, which is what the 2008 financial crisis was. And you got Brian Brooks putting out rules. And then just so happens that the FDIC is going to create a bridge financial company. And the reason they're creating the bridge financial company is a part of this committee that the lady who is on Ripple's board now is also on the board, and they're working on global systemically important banks and how they would solve those problems, right? And then Brad Garlinghouse, of course, bridge. That's all we've heard for 2 or 3 years now. Well, it turns out that the FDIC, this Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee that she is on, okay, they also put up videos, and I started watching the video, This is the section where he's talking about the bridge governance paradigm, and a face that I recognized popped out while he was talking out of nowhere. A guy who is connected all the way to the heights of power, all the way to the top level organizations that you can name, who we've been talking about for 2 years on this channel, and I'll show you one of the connections. Here we go.
Guidance on behalf of the FDIC to coordinate with the FDIC chairman and to support timely decision making, especially around that period immediately upon entering the resolution.
So
then, yes,
it's Gary Cohn. I look at this and
look who happens to be in on the meeting. Do you remember who Gary Cohn is? Well, he's the guy that was sitting right here to the right of Glenn Hutchins. This is when Glenn Hutchins, who's sitting to the right of Jay Clayton, the SEC chairman, who never could decide whether XRP was a security or what it was. And both of these this is that clip we've played we haven't played this part of the clip. We've played the other clips but in the clips we've played in the past, basically, Glenn Hutchins is schooling Jay Clayton, and Gary Cohn's kind of nodding in agreement the whole time, schooling Jay Clayton on what DLT and blockchain technology is. But in this clip right here, it might hit a little closer to home. But look, you may think there are coincidences, but I've just shown you a big string of them that aren't coincidences. But the final one that I want to show you is this. Listen to what Glenn Hutchins says in this clip from that thing.
Important. And with respect to cyber risk, I think the potential next financial crisis is more likely to come down that dimension than the dimension of sort of maturity transformation. There's a book I think everybody should read called The Perfect Weapon. I know you have it. I think I gave it to you. And which is about the last 8 years of cyber competition among nations. And the author, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times reporter, hypothesizes in the last chapter what the next war could look like. And it would start with our adversary turning off our electrical grid and our financial system, and then telling us to surrender before they attack without firing a shot. And the vulnerability.
So he's talking about them attacking our financial system, similar to maybe what happened yesterday or over the last month when the U.S. Treasury was hacked and breached. And what solves this? And who has been working on a bridge and a solution to systemic events for the last 7 years that we know about? What company, what is the one company that has led that charge and has been holding the regulators' hands to the very heights of government and has been on the agenda of I don't remember if it's the SEC or we've shown all of it. Who is it? Who's been there? Who would solve the problem? Who would keep the U.S. Treasury from being hacked? What company? What technology? XRP is the one. It has always been the one. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. And tell your friends and family that I don't care what the price is a distraction, as Glenn Hutchins said. Doesn't matter. XRP has always been the one. Thank you for listening.